beautiful, beautiful morning. My name is Tomi Siujo, and this is the Bumper Breakfast Thursday edition. Today, the 12th of November 2020. Hope we all woke up on the right side of our minds today. Joining me this morning, as usual, every Thursday, is the beautiful Teresa Adeyemi. And Teresa, good morning.
Good morning, Tomi. Good morning.
So you see that
the way you said beautiful, my head is like bouncing right, left.
Am I not supposed to give you compliments? Like
Thank
a
you.
beautiful
I
baby.
like that. I can see the word blushing.
Yeah, you know you.
They say Africans don't blush, but we
No. I know you do blush. I know you do blush. You have the pinky. You already have the pinky skin. So before we know what's happening, she just blushes. Hi, hope you slept well.
Yes, I slept well. Thank God.
I have so many interesting stories this morning, but don't worry, we'll share them with you
Okay.
much later. And of course, on the table this morning with us as usual, whenever Tessa is here, Mr. Fatuke likes to come to the studio because they like to spar. So I'm the referee this morning, so just watch out. They're going to be sparring a lot. Mr. Fatuke, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, I'm fine. Good morning, Nigeria. Hope you are all still keeping safe.
Hope we're all keeping safe. Hope you're wearing face mask, your face shield. Hope you're going out, washing your hands, spraying it, hand
Sanitizing your
sanitizer. Please, so COVID is real.
And COVID is still here.
COVID is real.
It's
COVID
not
is
yet
still
postponed.
killing people. Please, COVID is still killing people. COVID is still maiming, disturbing people's schedule, putting them in a hospital for weeks. So you need to take your life and your health much seriously. And like I would say to Mr. Fatuke this morning, congratulations, I'm glad you're alive. And like Yorubas will say, Akuyi Yolo.
Thank you very much. It's all over the place. We all must begin to think about ourselves, about our youths, about our country. The sword of Damocles is hanging on. So we take our security very personal. We are careful in what we do in the kitchen, in the bedroom, on the roads, with our spouses, with our children, with our friends. Just making sure that we keep the protocol. Thank you very much, Tosin.
It's a pleasure. I saw a story yesterday. I said I was going to show it to see much later anyway, of a young lady who was baited with acid by the husband. And she was so totally disfigured. You cannot recognize that she was the same person. She was a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful young woman. And she just went from, her son practically called her a monster. Because he said, you have my mommy's voice, but you don't have my mommy's face. I don't know who you are. Oh. Completely disfigured. Completely disfigured in
That's
Zimbabwe.
a true life story?
Yes, in Zimbabwe. It's a true life story.
In Zimbabwe, it happened here. So calls to question the mental capability.
You used to beat her a lot.
I run a relationship program every day on radio. And last 2 days, someone called that divorce is a sin. Because we're talking about some things relating to relationship as well. And this person said divorce is a sin.
You didn't tell the person
Then I now had to explain to the
dying
person that, okay, if divorce is a sin, then the lady in question should die in that marriage because divorce is a sin.
What did she now say?
And I said, no, he is just looking at it biblically. I said, even though we have men of God that are so popular in this country, let's talk about Nigeria now, that are divorced.
True.
We have them.
No, but we like to place standards and we like to judge by our person.
Now look at that lady. Look at what happened to her. You have to tell me that story because I have to talk about it tonight.
I'm actually going to show you the video.
Please, I need it.
So that you can see the before and the after.
Please.
And so some Americans are putting money together to give her a new facelift. There has to be a total reconstruction surgery, but even at that,
she can go back to a normal self again.
Just so, for the purpose of the son being able to relate with because somebody rescued her from Zimbabwe. A Zimbabwe woman who escaped marital violence, rescued her, took her to the United States, and she said communities have just, now she's blind. So she uses the braille. She's learning how to use the braille to read. She's learning how to do a lot of things all over again. She's learning how to walk like the blind. There was nothing wrong with her other than the fact that the acid has damaged even her eyes.
The community restructuring, the mind restructuring, national community orientation from family. You're talking about the woman that was beaten with acid. A lot of it has happened here.
Yeah, very
I
true.
am concerned that at the primary school level, we were speaking about this before.
Yes.
At the primary school level,
Somebody's putting sniper in
pupils
somebody's.
decide that because a fellow classmate is doing well, and so what he thought he should do was to go and put a poison in
the person's food.
in the lady's flask. So may the Lord
The
have
wickedness,
mercy.
you see, the wickedness that we
on
are
us.
experiencing today is unprecedented.
It's unpalpable, yes.
It's unprecedented. Let's take a look at the papers this morning. The Guardian newspapers, where a start from 160,000 Nigerian children die of pneumonia yearly. Disease single biggest infectious killer of adults. 2.5 million adults, 672,000 children killed in 2019 globally. Experts blame high mortality on low immunization, malnutrition and pollution. United Nations agency warned COVID-19 could add 1.9 million to the death toll this year. Buhari, Obasanjo, Jonathan governors mourn Balarabe Musa as he dies at 84. NANS gives government ASU 14 days to reopen varsities. Senate panel laments loss of war equipment to terrorists. Utomi, Falano, others condemn victimization of protesters as court grants their bail. U.S. Republican chair says 11,000 people have voter fraud claims. Right, federalism is the answer after all. All right, those are stories on the front page of the Guardian newspaper.
Right, the Nation newspaper this morning, we have tribute as Balarabe Musa is buried. Ex-Kaduna governor dies at 84. Buhari Tinubu eulogizing. Roll over panel to dispose of recovered government assets. Senior lawyers, right activists, AGF lack power to set up committee. ASU can claim varsity autonomy, says federal government. Nuns threaten protest over strike. And police dismiss 17 operatives in Lagos. Activists under fire for suing Davido and others. Trump files new election suit. EU orders 300 million doses of Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine. UNILAG welcomes Vice Chancellor's return. Panel chair protest. NCDC, while yellow fever is spreading. Although others begin vaccination. Hashtag NSERS, Banire Utomi Falani orders slam federal government for dictatorship. These are the stories on the front page of the Nation newspaper this morning.
Interesting ones. We also have that story, last story that Tessie read in the Nation, being the banner headline of the Punch newspaper. Federal government under fire for tagging hashtag NSAS campaign as terrorists. Government turning Boko Haram insurgents to freedom fighters. Protesters are terrorists. It is an attempt to intimidate the state panels of inquiry, alleges Osekame. Federal government thinks it's pretentious, says the NBA, and to government treasury looters, as Saint Odikalu is talking. IBEDC begins distribution of 100,000 free meters next week. Lagos Command tries 81 policemen, dismisses 10 for murder and corruption. Ex-Kaduna Governor Balarabe Musa buried. Governors others mourn. Obaseki dissolves ESCO, takes second term oath today. 36-year-old man jailed 14 years for raping Ogun minor hawker. And Unilag ASU hails Buhari's directive, reinstating sacked VC. Our Senate panel faults Boko Haram's amnesty, demands sponsors prosecution. EFCC witness against Turaki admits embezzling huge contract funds. 1 million capital. 753 Nigerian traders in Ghana request evacuation, and army declares Shikau al-Banawi, 84 other Boko Haram terrorists wanted. Oaneze backs Umahi on defection, says PDP unkind to Indigo. And Forex demand pressure worries CBN MPC members. All right, what do you have in the tribune?
Nigerian Tribune, we have on ASU strike. SANU NASU demands worsening crisis, says federal government. NAMS plans nationwide mass protest. North won't be stampeded into restructuring. It's coming from NEF. 2023 boy governorless condition to remain in PDP. Umhayi not fighting for us, Southeast leaders. 753 Nigerian traders in Ghana beg FG to bring them home. 801 federal agencies, 110 foreign missions not audited since 2017. That's coming from Reps. Query 4 billion naira on spent fund. Employment of 420 new staff by EFCC. Senate kicks against integration of repentant terrorists, demands adequate funding for army. Buhari Obasanjo governors over mourn as ex-Cardinal Governor Balarabe Musa dies at 84, buried. FEC ratifies Nigeria AFCTA membership. AIM says protesters, don't sow seed you can handle his harvest, Southern Middle Belt leaders tells FG. PDP condemns clampdown on protesters. And on Unila crisis, ASU others jubilate as Buhari reinstate Ogundipe as VC, dissolves Babalaki-led governing council.
All right, start my stories this morning from the story of the hashtag NSAS protesters whose accounts were frozen and some of them arrested and just granted bail. Some Nigerian
celebrities too.
Yes, some Nigerian, like you and I, another Nigerian sued some people they perceived as sponsors of the hashtag, or supporters of the hashtag NSAS protesters. That's the citizens thing. But I'm talking more about the one the government is doing. Now, the CBN froze some of their accounts and claimed something about terrorism, you know.
They operated like terrorists.
And then you're talking about
the government.
And then we have some of them being arrested. I mean, in Lagos, it was even so bad that it had to affect the sitting of the Lagos State Panel of Inquiry, because one of the two young people that were there, our account was frozen by the CBN. And a name has been mentioned as one of the people the federal government is also
some of them
targeting.
are even having issues.
What do you think about this clampdown? What does it say about our government and our democracy?
Not so much about what I think, what my perception, what you call intelligence quotients,
Yes.
emotional quotients. In fact, the overall commonsensical way of looking at things. What it portends is the fact that, alas, once again, we have advertently or inadvertently, as a government and as a people, decides to score another own goal. Because all what we were trying to see was to try and see how we could shop the trust deficits that has that continues to parade our body politic. Okay, let's put things in perspective. Clearly, the Central Bank of Nigeria, under the COVID guidelines, the Bank and other financial institutions acts, and so has a right to suspect. As a matter of fact, if you're going to be opening some accounts as an individual, or even especially as a corporate, you know, one of the arms of the EFCC asks questions because they want to see inflows into your account. This is a normal routine thing for which, at the end of each month, at the end of each quarter, at the end of the year, you are supposed to make your returns back. And you know, money is traceable. Technology makes money traceable. But in the context of what we have, the NSAS protesters, the good young people that have been protesting
for the good of our country,
for the legacy for which Mr. President himself
should be proud. Something he should.
He was proud because he mentioned that is within the legitimate right of the young people to protest. And Vice President also said, yes, we have listened to you clearly. And then an agency of government within that context, after people have been spoken to, and they said, no, we are not going to, because we don't trust. No, just calm down. The likes of Reverend Sam Adeyemi, that they believe, not just they, but a number of people believe in his gestalt, his worldview, not just looking at religion. Trainer of youths, and he said we can listen to him. And the likes of Papa Adeboye, of RGGC, say yes, it's a legitimate thing to do. And then we now decided that is the time for us to now invoke an ex parte, which in my view, I'm not a lawyer, but like I said, it's common sense, decides to invoke an ex parte to put a lien on account of this quote-unquote exposed people for 180 days. Again, if you look at the whole jambalaya of the whole ups and downs to this, more questions are now being asked. Are you sure your intention really is not to
make sure there is no other protest?
Now, how does that put our esteemed president? Now, I know Garba Shehu has come to say, well, if you are suspected, I know Ogbeni, the Ondo governor, Akeredolu, has also said, yes, you could go to court to go prove yourself. Now, which one comes first? The investigative panels are on. We are beginning.
Yes, welcome back. It's still the Bumper Breakfast Show. We had to go on that very abrupt break. But we're back here, and the discussion was just about the hashtag EndSARS protesters that were arrested, accounts frozen. And I'm asking the question, for a society that pardoned terrorists, that rehabilitated terrorists, as a matter of fact, dedicated money to rehabilitation and reintegration of terrorists. And then we now do, I smell some measure of hypocrisy. I mean, I love the president, but I see that it looks as if the agencies seem to want to always give him a bad name.
Again, I mean,
why should they keep doing things that would always make Nigerians talk about the president? I mean, the president is not the one in Lagos, the president is not the one in the streets, the president is not the one in the agencies, but people keep mentioning his name.
Yes,
it's not the one.
Because he's the president.
Except that the buck stops on his table, and if you have so much confusion that is hovering and moving around you, that is why you have executive powers. If Mr. President has been embarrassed enough, like a lot of us are getting embarrassed, and my dear friend Garba Shehu coming on television to say, well, yes, there is absolutely nothing that happens without the knowledge of the president, which again turns the table in a very awkward way. I'm beginning to see capacity, and I'm beginning to see incompetence amongst the various organs of government. I mean, it's like a football team. There are 11 players, Some will be playing well, playing good, have the vision of wanting to win.
And then the others will be running the opposite direction.
If 9 now decide to take the ball, take it to your own goal posts,
and playing own goals,
and then put it on, and then the referee say, no, you are not supposed to do that. Come on, that's a penalty, and they also give you a penalty. Please score a goal, and then you still hit the ball over the bar. What you call that in simplistic terms is that there is incompetence and there is incoherence and there is lack of vision in that team. Having said that, my understanding is that from Mr. President's speech, he's supposed to be the father of the nation.
He is not supposed to be. He is the father of the nation.
He is supposed to be the father of the nation, I repeat. And if that has not happened, I have seen situations where low-hanging fruits have not been taken. I had prescribed openly, because I support this president and I believe that he's supposed to have the overall interests of the country. If he had spoken much earlier to talk to the NSAS reporters, the protesters on the streets, he didn't. And because he did not and delegated that, everybody started doing their things.
But Mr. Fatuka, but why does one of the young activists who was actively involved in the military era in terms of protesting and all that, said something very, very important. He said the biggest tools, the biggest methods of inspiring young people that are within the government and being underutilized. He mentioned things like the youngest people in this government should be the ones who had gone to the streets to meet with the protesters, the people who can speak their language, talk to them, and then the last bus stop, would now have been the president. They would have been able to come on the streets and say, what do you want? And then they would have been able to do their slangs and talk together, have conversations, because it's would definitely attract. But in this case, he said the governor speaking to them felt more like the governor's talking at them and not talking to them.
Okay, well,
that was his own position. Do you agree?
For me, that is a tactics.
Okay.
For me to cook a pot of soup,
yes.
I could do different things, as long as I get the soup.
The results.
But if at the end of the day I still do not find anything in the pot of soup, something drastic has to happen.
And so is the drastic thing now going to the CBN to freeze accounts and then giving us a bad name in the... Anyway,
it still comes back to my point. If you do not do the basic things as at the time you should do them, then you run into a cul-de-sac of confusion that we found ourselves. And the mark of a leader, you see, a leader is not supposed to be an angel. It's not supposed to be a know-it-all. It happens to all leaders. After doing all that you need to do, the act of God comes. Oh, that has been missed. Then the leader has to not go out there and take responsibility. I repeat, if the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria had decided to speak, I know the minders of government might say, yeah, that's not his style and all that. If he had gone to speak, I am very, very sure and certain we will have reached a lot of mileage. Now, that's not taking place. What I now see is that agencies of government,
they're trying to look for scapegoats.
Agencies of government now want to not just look for scapegoats.
That's what it seems
like. Maybe this is because this is the highliners playing to the top of the highliners.
Yeah, but Mr. Batuke, I sincerely say,
we have to wait, please. Let's cut the chase. Let's just go straight to the point, please. We have this hashtag end protesters. It carries a lot of things. People are being arrested. Let's talk about, okay, we're talking about frozen accounts. What about the people that are being arrested?
And the people
we have a lot of them on social media now. They're saying free somebody, free someone, free someone. Why are they arresting them? I think we need to tackle that. Why are they being arrested? Let's talk about the frozen accounts.
Still talking about
why can't they arrest the hoodlums? I can quote many people that said a peaceful protest was hijacked by hoodlums.
Everybody says it.
Everybody said it. So why are they arresting the peaceful protesters? On what basis? And here we are talking about
What
about the people. Some people have been moved to Abuja yesterday from Oshogbo. I have someone from Oshogbo that sent me a message. I just don't want to play that message on live TV. She was being detained for 48 hours. Actually, she met someone that knows the father, a relationship thing, and she was let go, but her friends are still there. They've been moved to Abuja. So what are we talking about?
So I keep asking the question, why
are they being arrested? Why are they arresting them? But they themselves a peaceful protest. No.
Tessie, even if you're going to arrest people, if you're going to arrest people, I see that you must have done your homework so well. You must have done it in such a way.
Celebrities are being sued because they came out to talk. And you're telling us it's democracy? Tessie, and they're all being clamped down now? No, it's not funny.
Tessie, when you have the malcontents in the cockpit saying that you want to drive a plane, you want to fly a plane, that's what or you want to drive a car, you want to drive a trailer, and rather than put your leg on the brake when you see danger and you press the accelerator, either of two things is happening: the mental capacity or the fact that you are not even supposed to be either in the cockpit or in the driving wheel in the first place. Now, what I know a lot of leaders do, since they are not be all and know all, is that they surround themselves with people who will be able to look them straight in the face, who are technocrats and who will be able to tell them the truth. Does this not now then imply that even if we have a president, I'm sorry I have to say this.
You don't say it on my show.
We have a president, we have an executive president, that's the leader of Nigeria, who has believed so much in delegating. And he has delegated over time, not just because of this NSAS process. We've seen it in quite a number of other aspects of our socio-cultural life. And things are going awry. Things are going off the bunkers. Now, unless if that president or the head of the house do an introspection, why am I having all this? And then it goes out there and takes full responsibility. I've seen situations where, unfortunately in Nigeria, whether at the federal, whether at the National Assembly, whether at the state legislatures, or at the local government levels, people are just not prepared and ready to take responsibilities.
We'll just look for excuses and
it is within the right and the remit of the CBN. Let's be clear.
To freeze accounts.
To suspect and decide that they are beginning to see
them as terrorists.
Elements of things that tend to suggest that this is untoward. It is not within that law, the framers of that law of COVID, to say freeze the account before you start to investigate.
Yes, you must investigate.
You must investigate.
And then when you now then apply, when you decide to freeze the account, and then you now then go to court to go seek for permission.
To do what you have done already?
Now that is very untoward, and I'm going to be very clear about it. Yes, I know we are on national television. We are not running the administration of justice, of governance, of people's rights, of people's responsibilities, of people's expectations the way it should be run.
It should be run.
Pure and simple.
We should even put a human face to some of these things, Mr. Fatuke.
I like to say, it's not late. I've seen leaders fall. I've seen leaders make a lot of mistakes. It is within the remit of a very good leader to say, yes, I've made a mistake. Churchill said it so many times. I said this. No, okay. I reverse myself for the sake of my people. I said it so many other times, Tomisi, that I think the NSAS protesters, the good NSAS protesters, are out for a good legacy for this present administration.
Yes.
If only we are
take advantage of it and we use it well.
And take that advantage.
We must be seen as
so I expect,
it's an opportunity. I like the fact that the Deputy Secretary of the United Nations, Amina Mohammed, I like the fact that she was in Nigeria to visit President Muhammadu Buhari, and I like the fact that she acknowledged the fact that this government, in fact, the way she put it was the fastest response that they had seen. I mean, state governments are beginning to debrief SARS operatives and all of that all over the country.
And investigations are already
Lagos State is already announcing they're trying 81 policemen today. They've received 10 for murder and for corruption.
And
we're already seeing results.
And then suddenly,
we're now beginning to taint that result.
We were already going to say bravo.
We're now tainting it.
And then so
just come up with
something is not. Something is not
jiving. Do you think that somebody is trying to sabotage every effort of this government? Because the way I say it, you're doing a good thing, and then something really, really bad keeps going to taint the good of the thing that you're doing. I mean, if you're going to catch a thief, you should have a proof that you suspect the person is a thief, and it is quite smart for you to do all of your due diligence, do all of your research, and then catch the person like this.
And even
put forward your evidence and say, despite the fact that this process was very good, so person, and so person infiltrated this with so, and these are the proof, and that's why they've been arrested and accounts have been frozen.
That is the process to follow.
And it will give you a good name.
That is the process to follow if you want to be competent.
Okay.
But if you are going to be incompetent, then you allow different, cacophonous invoices to come in.
And people start to suggest it. Okay, maybe we should clamp down here.
But at the end of the day, and that's the point, the buck stops on the president's.
And that's the one that pains me.
The international community are already looking at it.
They're watching.
All agencies of government that are doing all the bravado now, hiding under one law or the other, they will not always continue to be on that seat.
But actually,
the United...
Is there any arrest in Lagos State here? I don't think so.
There has been some. Because Evans Ofeli was here on our show on Tuesday. No. Evans Ofeli was on our show on Tuesday, and he was on the team of lawyers.
But I know some of them have been having issues traveling out. Like
no. They've been arresting and they've been releasing. They've been bailing them out. Evans was here. He's one of the lawyers who helped with the release of the processes. Some of them.
Okay.
They started arresting even during now. Some of them were arrested during the protest.
During the process, yes, I know of that.
Some were arrested.
Ladies, there's a silver lining. No matter how bad all this looks, as a family, husband, wife, 4 children, things are not going on fine with your family. You don't even have money to send children to school. We always say it's not the end of life. There's always a tomorrow. We are now in that tomorrow that we are thinking about yesterday. We have a situation where I am going to be appealing. Now I say it. I'm going to be appealing to Mr. President that all these different angles,
dissenting voices,
taking the court, people are even suspecting that maybe government has a hand in trying to want to, undermine a good thing that is going. This is where Mr. President has to now then come and say, enough is enough. Jonathan did something extraordinary. When we thought everything was going to be scattered, and then he was hearing different advice from people, he got up, took his phone, called Mr. President, I concede. This is something that happened on our soil in Nigeria that we are not seeing being replicated in the US.
Very true.
So, Mr. President can do likewise. Take the cue. It is no disgrace. It is not
correct the anomaly.
Correct the anomaly. Get all the children together. Yes, I made my point that you had a right to protest. I'm going to stand by that right, and I gave it on national television. Okay, we are going to look. Yes, we'll go through the due process. People who need to do certain things need to do certain things, and if there has been misapplication of the law, come on, it should not stand. For the young people, I say, this is our finest hour for this our country. Let's organize. Let's do less of agonization. Let's go to court. Let's throw the part of law. Let us take the laws into our hands, because Victoria is asserta. We are going to get the victory. I am very, very, very sure of that.
Oh, one story that I'm sure a lot of people will be talking about today is ASU jubilating. It's in the front page of the Nigerian Tribune there. The Unilag crisis, ASU, others jubilate as Buhari reinstates Ogundipe as the VC.
And it deserves Babalaki
Led
council.
governing council.
Tomisi and Tessie, not sure if you go deep into those
story.
reports, and I have gone a bit deep into
Yes.
that report. I had an embarrassing byline that the chairman of the visitation panel
Yes.
is trying to shift responsibility that he did not agree or something like that, yes, and that he wanted the the pro-chancellor wanted to now shift it on. Something coming in my mind, like Otto von Bismarck would have said, too little, too late. You cannot be chairing a committee and they have done the visitation,
Yes.
and they've turned out a report, and then you are now after you have signed, now saying that you do not agree with certain things. Let's put that aside.
Especially with the reinstatement of Ogundipe
Peace and tranquility has come
to Unilag.
in relative terms to University of Lagos. ASU is jubilating. SANU is quiet. The non-academic staff union of that university are not so quiet. It has always been there.
Yes.
I say a war has been won, which is short term. We must go ahead and make sure we win the battle. Let me be clear. Professor Ogundipe, I congratulate you. The visitation panel discovered that due process was not followed.
Yes.
And a lot of the accusations, right or wrong, have not been proven.
And that's
Therein,
what Professor Tuko was talking about.
now therein,
Mm.
a lesson for you, Tomisi, a lesson for you, Tessie, a lesson for me, a lesson to youngsters out there. You recall when the whole thing was going on, there was a relative calm and peace about Professor Ogundipe.
Yeah.
Of course, it could have been agonizing. No,
Yeah.
in fact, I read it allegedly. He had to go beg Babalaki. Is there anything I've done to you? Because Wale Babalaki has said, well, you are not my candidate and all that. Somehow hand-handed. And said, look, if there's anything you think I have done, please let's take it easy. Babalaki was not going to agree. That's number one. Take note of that. The second thing I'd like you to take note of is the fact that when Push became a show and Babalaki sanctioned his being sacked and being replaced by Professor Shoyombo, he decided that he was going to go to court. He actually went to court.
That's Ogundipe, right?
Ogundipe went to court.
Okay.
But then reason prevailed that, okay, look, if this is going to be sent to the visitor of the university, why don't I just take
Wait.
my calm and my peace? The second lesson learned here is that even in the face of adversity, in the face of injustice, like the young, progressive NSAS guys are facing today,
Yes.
hold your calm.
Hold your calm.
Because why? If he had gone to court, the thing will continue to be unending. But if he had allowed common sense to prevail, which is what I am preaching out here, leadership, please, let's look at this with a lot of common sense and a lot of intelligence quotient. Emotional intelligence should come to bear. Emotional intelligence has won that war for Professor Ogundipe. Now, having won the war, Professor Ogundipe, in my own honest and humble opinion, should be seeking to how he's going to win the battle. SANU, the non-academic staff and all that, how do we all come back together? You listen to Biden's acceptance speech.
Yes, I did.
I am for all Americans, including those who are not
He said,
voted
I'm
for
a
me.
proud Democrat. But
Professor Ogundipe, you have been reinstated, and this is now the time for you to heal. This is now the time for you to be transparent. One of the things that was said, which I know happens in all universities, just like any other place, is the fact that, look, our process must be sacrosanct. Dr. Wale Babalaki, humbly pie, you've made your point.
yes,
But it's not right from the university that you came out from the faculty of law, for you to begin to throw stones there.
Those who live in
If you
glass
throw
houses.
stones that way, a lot of hailstones may come back to you. Back to Professor Ogundipe. This is now the time for you to heal, and this is now time for you to be seen as a leader. Transparency, vision, due process, accountability, audits of the school's accounts, and please, let's ensure that at all times and at all avenues, we make sure we use the right instrumentality of law to get to what we need to get to. Lesson for all of us here.
we've been talking so much about
Lesson
this ASU jubilating over Babalaki's reinstatement. But ASU strike is still ongoing now. The SANU, NASU demands,
prices. And then plus nationwide.
like I usually say, when you give an age, please permit me to take a mile, because you've given me that age already. I remember that when ASU came out with UTAS, they also came up with theirs. And that's a crisis
They proposed
there.
they were going to come up with
come up
theirs.
with theirs.
Pengasan is now saying that
They want their own too.
They want their own.
And I've always said that if you do not take charge of your house, they say, because if you do not take a decisive action, unfortunately, it looks as if ASU has gotten to the point of twisting government and practically holding the entire Nigerian student population to ransom. Bad enough, they have children who are in school as well. Some of them abroad, some of them here. The people that are worst hit are the students. Should we now say the federal government should, irrespective of what ASU is saying, because let's leave the investment in the educational sector, which we know that everybody has hammered and hammered and hammered. But let's talk about IPPIS and UTS. Should the government now dance to ASU's tune in a way to just get students back to school?
Back to school.
And what do you propose they do?
pure and simple. In the corporate world, this happens all the time. The issue of salaries happens all the time. As a matter of fact, in banking institutions, in oil and gas, where I have always been, we are talking of massive affiliates. Nigeria, Ghana, the US, Europe, Asia, where salary administration comes under what we are now looking at in the public service of Nigeria, saying IPPS, is deployed, is tested, and is rolled out. It could be true that the peculiarity of the convention in certain geographical areas might be slightly different. All that needs to be done for techie enablers, go to the back end. You go to the back end and say, oh, this is not sitting very pretty with us.
You can tweak it here and there
It can be tweaked with appropriate approval,
from the owners of the original software.
and then it goes on. What I think needs to be done is simple. In management, you call it management of change. Anytime you want to change a process,
Yes.
you will get people that will like it. You get people, for what reason they may not like it. You need to now then sit down. Government, ASU, We do an open demonstration. It will not take 4 or 5 hours. Something that is now taking us about 8 months. Yeah, dispassionately look at it. If there is a challenge in one that government has decided to deploy,
That every other agency is
can
on.
we look at the UTAS? If the UTAS is going to be better, there is absolutely nothing wrong in saying, yeah, we discard that.
And we take users for all of our staff.
We take the homegrown. But situations where you are not able to sit down and do that management of change, something that will not take you more than 4, 5, 6, 7 hours.
But they've been having meetings, Mr. Vasuke. What then have they been
I
discussing?
even want to
It
quote
therefore
the
means
Minister of Civil
there is more.
Employment,
There is
Senator
more.
Kwesi
To it.
Senator Kwesi said, Senator Ngige, who maintained that it was proper to harmonize the payment platform in the Nigerian universities, disclosed that his ministry has since sent the UTAS to National Information Technology Development Agency for assessment.
Okay.
He said, and I quote, "We have sent their system to NIDA for assessment. They have to come back from strike to know what we can do in the interim. They have to come to hear that there are other systems in the university that have their own system of payment and they are not going to go with UTAS. We have other associations in the universities which are SANU, NASU, and National Association of Technologies in University. ASU is not the only union in the universities. Now listen, he said, if we ignore them and what they are saying, even if ASU comes back,
Welcome back. It's still the bumper breakfast show. Before we went on that break, of course, we were talking about SANU, NASU, UTAS, IPPIS, and then PENGAS. They are on strike, Mr. Vasuke.
And more.
Are likely to come on board.
More are likely to come on board. So this is where we need leadership. And I was talking about that in the private sector. You do management of change. You demonstrate it. It's not one party or
It's
another
not
party.
rocket science. Everybody
sitting
just
down.
sits together.
It is clear. We make it very, very open. Pros and cons, and then we bridge the gap. My point has always been the fact that, again, watching the kind of language that comes on television, it is irresponsible, highly irresponsible for an organization, a government or leadership to have created so many universities and have decided not to fund them. Okay, you've not funded them because of productivity, because your revenue base is gone down, and what have you. What you need to really do is that even then, it should be seen as an example that things are not moving, fine. We have run into turbulent times. The agreement that I had with you, I'm sorry, I will not be able to handle it. And Tessie must be seeing me, making that communication and seeing the action that I take to be in sync. But situations where we say we cannot fund universities on one hand, and then we are bailing out aviation, we are bailing out some other sectors, and those monies are being taken, not really audited, and taken out, you give the impression, regrettably, that you have not paid enough focus on education. Basically, again, like Tosin has said, for good reasons, the fact that your children are not in some of these public schools anyway, they are out there, and you can send them abroad. Now, those in the public schools that have been out for 8 months, some of the girls will be 8 months pregnant now.
Yes.
Some of the young guys, I'm sure, came out to join the bad guys, to all give all of us a bad name.
And headache.
My pleading,
Massive headache.
my pleading, and I should also say this, I'm not a spokesman of government. Part of alleged reasons why ASU is insisting on UTAS,
It's because it's homegrown.
not because it's homegrown, because the moonlighting thing that people have had. When I say moonlighting, you can go and lecture at a particular university, travel to another university, go to another university.
Get money from multiple places.
Fair enough, if that is going to help, I don't have any problems.
Mr. Masuke, let me make it a private arrangement. Everybody traveling from Covenant
The only
University
challenge
to
I
Redeemers
have
University.
there is that if Tessie is in a public university and she expects that level of teaching, research from me to help her, and I merely just give her my hands out,
And I tell her to read it
because I've gone elsewhere. At the end of the day, what you are likely to have is products that come out of the universities that still have to go to finishing school. Having put all that together, I think both parties should kindly come together for the sake
of the students.
Yeah. Thomason, yes.
And their own children are not even
for the sake of the students. Not so much for the sake.
All of them.
Not so much for the sake of the students.
Okay.
I'm talking about
Not so much for the sake of the students, but for the sake of the ruling class. Because these are standing armies that are angry and hungry and ready, and they will do virtually everything to bring Nigeria down. A word is enough
for the wise.
for the discerning.
ASU. Please do not forget in all of your striking and striking. Don't forget that companies don't employ people who are above the age of 24,
I'm telling you,
and in some cases 27.
when you go to the labor market,
and you have so many. Mr. Masuke, while I was in school, I was the oldest person in my room.
But you still look young, though.
So let me not shock you.
Up to now.
So now let me shock you. I went to Obafemi Awolowo University.
Wow.
As at part 100 level, I was the youngest, I was the oldest person in my room, as in my room, Mozambique Oil, L7. I can still remember my room number. I was the youngest, I'll be the oldest. All the girls in my room were 15, they were 16, some of them clocked 15 in school. In fact, I had one of them, she was my school daughter. We were both in part 1, but she was my school daughter because her mom was always coming to sleep on her bed every weekend whenever she is flowing. She's menstruating, her mother will come from Ibadan and come sleep. So when the mother saw that I was there, then the mother stopped coming. Then I became custodian of their provisions. You know, when you're in secondary school and you're the senior girl, and then you have, we were all in the same, as a matter of fact, we go to class together. But for a lot of reasons, that happened. You see, I now see years down the line. I wrote Access Bank test at, I think immediately I finished school. I wrote Access Bank test. The moment I wrote the test, the first thing, my friend was one of the people who conducted the test for me. And you know what he said to me? He said to me, saying, you passed the test, but you can't go. You know what? You are above the age, because as at the time of graduation and service, you must have completed service. As at the time of graduation and service,
So
you
what's the
must be
story?
24.
What's the story? Do you enter university late, or you enter university early?
As a matter of fact, I even thought I entered university
early.
in my mind. I thought.
It's because of the
But
strike.
while I was
Did you experience strike during your time?
So my jam was 2002. I entered in 2003. I sat at home for 11 months. 11 whole months I was at home. Part 1. When I got to part 2, I was at home for 7 months. So between part 2 and part 3, I was in school all through. And then part 4, I was at home for 7 months before I wrote my final exams.
I'm sorry to say this on TV though.
And then it took me another 7 months.
At times, it's not about you being intelligent.
Oh my.
With SSC, because I don't know how I passed Yoruba. I used to tell people.
Oh my. That one they used to give us.
Okay, they give us.
Because in my, this is how I wrote Yoruba. This is how I wrote Yoruba. I pick up and I just shade one Enije, and then I finished and I gave my answer script. And I got C, and I got a C. I got a C6 as well. I'm telling you. You know the ones that I did, I knew that my result, I knew what I got. I didn't write biology. I knew that I would not pass biology. So I went to school on biology exam day and I played in the compound. My mates were writing their biology. I was jumping about. I was greeting. When they came out, they said, "Toby, you didn't enter." I said, "What do you want me to come and write there now?" I don't know biology. I don't like the course. I don't like the subject.
There is something I am going to want to take out from this case study.
Do you get what I'm saying now?
Your personal case study.
I wrote 3 tests, so Mr. Masuke, that was just successful. I wrote KPMG as well.
Oh my word.
No.
And they all came back.
So did you pass biology? Did you pass biology?
How can I pass something that I did not write? I don't
is
have biology in my certificate.
There is something
So let us
to
go to
learn.
that.
Beyond laughing over this,
Yes.
that we must pass on from this case study.
Yes.
like many, at that young age, you have been frustrated.
Yes.
The
They spend so much of my time.
Okay, now the system has frustrated you. There are so many like you
Yes.
who have also been so
Experiencing such,
frustrated.
yeah.
Today, if they are not in the sanatorium, they've gone to the great beyond. So when you decide that, the life expectancy age for
These are some of the issues.
quite a number of young people like you were being sponsored by parents. In between these 8-11 years, the
I had a
benefactor,
friend who had two babies. For every ASU strike, she had one baby.
okay, the benefactor has since gone.
And the benefactor stopped paying her school fees.
But having said that, your story has shown in my mind the resilience of the Nigerian.
Very true.
Properly harnessed and properly applied.
Very true.
Today, Tomlinson, not because we are here, but I know that 1,001 parents out there and young people will be admiring you,
Yes.
seeing you
But they do not know the journey.
doing what you are doing. What have you done? You have applied entrepreneurship.
True.
While you are going through all that, only God knows how you kept on trying to educate yourself,
Oh, Mr.
help
Patigan,
yourself.
you don't want to know what I did.
So many things that has now brought you into where you are. So
I went to learning,
bottom line,
trade. I went learning.
bottom line to our young folks there. Yes, it's bad news. There's a lot of frustration out there,
Very true.
but it's not enough for you not to now then say, what can I do with myself?
Extra.
How can I learn some trade? Even within the house, how can I get mentors? How can I get people who know how to do it? And
Mr.
I begin
Batuke.
to see how to do it.
Mr. Batuke,
Because
the
this
bigger
country
frustration-
is not taking care of those hygienic needs that we need in that educational field.
Very
but
true.
like the NSAS people are doing, and they've showed, we are not just educated, we are good administrators. We can show Nigeria the pathway, and we should be able to show the Nigerian pathway while we are begging the ASU and the federal government to
So please resolve their crisis.
resolve this
What
crisis.
all what you've said, Mr. Batuke, the bottom line is the youth should not give up.
Very true.
Holding on. Because I know
The
there's
bigger
always,
frustration, Tessie,
Yes.
is not even when you graduate.
when you
It's not while you're in school. The bigger frustration is when you graduate.
and when you enter the labor market.
And you start applying,
And you start
they keep
applying
telling you your
to
age. You
different
have a
reasons.
2-1, you have a first class, and they tell you your age, you're older.
You're older.
You're older
How
than
many
the
years
benchmark.
experience do you have?
No, you're older than the benchmark. That one is the one that will kill you first. They just keep rejecting you
Rejecting you.
because you do not qualify. You're above the age group. They even put an age limit on everything that is there already.
telling
And when you now get there, you get to some banks and then you see very, very young, tiny, I call them tiny children. So before they come for me on social media, very young people.
Very
you
young
know,
girls and guys.
The younger people. I mean, I had a little sister who started writing ICANN at 21, and she was already a chartered accountant at 22 plus. And then there was nothing else for her to do. She got married, and then at 28, she already had 2 kids. And then she went back to working, and she's fine. But the truth was, she graduated at 20. She clocked 21 in service year, and just like that, she could apply. For some reason, she went to IFE, and she was in IFE at the time when ASU didn't go on one strike.
She was lucky.
She was so lucky. I had 3. She was so lucky. I spent 2 years plus extra strike.
Yeah.
But she was so lucky. So lucky. So you can imagine the kind of frustration that now exists out there. You now have a lot of people who come out of school with even good grades. Struggle to school. I have a friend, a classmate, is a doctor today. He lectures at one of the tertiary institutions in Oyo State. While we were in school, we contribute Gary for him to eat every day. We have to bring extra food. So you are struggling, but you see somebody who's struggling more than you. Sometimes that Gary is all it will take for 48 hours. It gets that bad. And then he finished school, there was no job for years. Somebody was benevolent enough to sponsor him going back for masters, and then he went into lecturing gradually, applied, and for some stroke of luck, he was just lucky he got employed in a tertiary institution. If not, imagine where it would be.
I can imagine.
Of families. And that's the story of millions
of millions who are not as lucky. And
as he is. And he was even there for 5 years without a job.
I'm happy with the example that you mentioned, 21, 20, 22 years.
Yes.
Good, happy. She or he was lucky. The only thing that he or she, in my own view, is unlucky with is the kind of harsh experience that you have to go to that will stand you in good stead.
Very true.
I want to believe that at the end of the day, she'll be able to pick all that. Otherwise, academic knowledge without wisdom is nil. Comes back to the fact that we need to serious restructure of our academic curriculum, just not to be certificates. Your ability to be able to use your hands and use your brains
to do other things.
And Finland is doing it. It's been done in Norway. I do not see any reason why we should not get back to that. At the best level, civics, history should come into the curriculum so that people can learn. Why did this particular person fail? How did this particular person succeed? Can I copy this person? And then finally, government must put the money into education over and above the wastages that we see on a daily basis. I hear at the last count about 801 agencies of government and foreign diplomatic outfits outside Nigeria have not been audited since 2017. Is that, and each year we pump money in there. It gives the impression, like I mentioned at the beginning of this, that we are just behaving like a rudderless ship, just going.
I thought we had the Office of the Auditor General of the Federation, but before you answer my question, let's take a quick commercial break. When we return, there's still more to come on the Bumper Breakfast, and don't forget, it's the Thursday edition. We definitely have to throw back. Welcome back. It's still the Bumper Breakfast Show, and I was asking Mr. Fatuke a very funny question before we went on that break. But let me shove that aside a little bit, and let's talk a bit about the budgetary allocations of the 2021 year. COVID-19 came with its year and gave us the year of the new normal. That's 2020, and then 2021 is coming fast and fast approaching. But one thing that I have seen so far, because we're talking about education here and you're talking about putting a lot of money in it, I see that quite a number of state governments have begun to present their budgets to the different houses of assembly. Let's start with Lagos. Lagos had a budget of 1.155 trillion naira. Let's go to Osun State that had just about 108 billion naira. Osun State is the only state that I've seen so far that has given over 10% to education, about 18% to education. And it's quite interesting that even health in Osun State got a huge part of the budget, at least over 10%. It looks as if, so I'm seeing a state that has so little, but putting so much in to those two key areas. In comparison to what we have in Nigeria.
Back to, again, yes, kudos to what you just mentioned. Talked about priorities, and I also know that from the economic circle,
yes,
Osun State, surprisingly, is one of the emerging states in terms of when you compare relative development, human capacity developments. And this is the same Osun State that was at the bottom of the ladder.
Yes.
When Rauf Aregbesola was governor.
Yes.
Again, it depends on how you allocate your priorities. I also know that Osun State is rustic, and the internally
Let me even give you the
generated
numbers, Mr. Batuke. Education, 20.8 billion. Human capital and civil service reforms, that's where you are, 6.1 billion. Pension and gratuities, 12.8 billion. Contribution to the state health insurance scheme, 1 billion. The health sector, 10.3 billion. They have a total budget of 109.9 billion now. And you see that about 10% here and about almost 20%.
although when you reduce that to dollar terms, for everybody,
Of course,
we really have not done
anything.
much.
But the entire budget self,
Okay,
if
no,
you reduce
no,
it to
no,
dollar
no.
terms, what do we
But
have?
then, even if you are looking at it on naira for naira, on naira basis, that is kudos.
Yes.
I not only say that is kudos, if it can be sustained. It's not so much your IGR, and not so much the revenue that has come to the coffers of government, but how have you been able to allocate that effectively?
there.
Now, I am not in Osun State. I'm not the Osun State spokesperson. But if I know that the ceiling remains that level, I'm yet able to do the little that I've been able to do. It tells you from the economic perspective,
Yes.
that some certain facts are being cut, some relative efficiencies are being made to make sure that they are able to harvest those excesses that have been either stolen, excesses that have been leaking into the productive human capacity and educational sector. And I think it's a good story when they are going to be doing peer reviews, that Osun State can raise their head and say, yes,
We've done more than everybody
I
else.
do not know what education, what security is going to look like, because at the end of the day, security is going to be a major chunk. I hope the security boots that is not being accounted for one way or the other. I hope the office of the First Lady, if it exists, like everywhere in Osun State, we will begin to seriously think of how to make sure whatever they get, if they get anything from the ecological fund, anything they get
She
from,
focuses on this toilet
should make sure that is
open defecation issue.
yes, should make sure that it's channeled there. And I also like the governor Oyetola to do something relatively smaller in pie when compared to other states. Can all this be accounted for? Can they be audited? It should institute auditing of the little that has been given to agencies of government.
Yes.
Strictly audited, starting with his own office. Secondly, I know that in Elisha we have this issue surrounding gold deposits.
Yes.
The diversification should be such that, because the diaspora, given the fact that we now have a president-elect in Biden, is going to be looking less at fossil fuels. Is now going to be putting a lot into, because one of the things that Biden has clearly said is that in Africa we are going to be doing collaboration for people who have good governance, and all what I've just talked about now are elements of good governance. You'll be so shocked and surprised that money and foreign direct investment
is likely to come
there. So starting, I think the good books, the Bible talked about, don't be afraid of starting as a small beginner. It is what you do with that small beginning, that one singular talent that you have been given, and you are able to multiply it that we can begin to now replicate in other areas. I hope the federal government, the budgetary office is listening. My dear friend and brother, Professor Akabwezi, made a revelation, serious revelation, that close to about 400 plus agencies of government are not going to be, be in a position to pay the 30,000 naira per month minimum wage. What's that telling you? For those who are discerning, it tells you that we must all fasten our seatbelts. We must be much more creative in the way we manage our affairs. The NSAS police reforms that we are talking about, tariff reforms, labor should now be left hand and right hand as far as government and themselves are concerned now.
Yes.
Cost of governance has to come down. We must begin to see good
and
examples.
Governor Sanwo-Olu has led the pack with promising to put together an executive bill to repeal the law that pays pension to governors and deputy governors in Lagos. What do you think?
I think
that's part of the cost of governance.
I think it's something that is welcome. I think he should do more. I think he made it as an intention to send out a tweet, and I said, yes, it's good intention. Please, we want it to be actioned right now. I'm also happy that Governor Fashola clearly raised his hand and said that he never believed that should have been, falling short of the fact that he should have repealed it. Well, whether he decided to repeal it or not,
or otherwise,
the point is the fact that he's keyed into it. And the Jagaban himself, Bola Tinubu, has said that he supports the initiative. I say the Jagaban should not just support that initiative. In fact, he's going to be at the forefront of ensuring that it gets a smooth sail so that Lagos State can come back into winning ways. The amount of wastage, we are talking about, maybe at the last count, maybe 50 million per governor on average in a year. That can be put into good use.
That can be used
with all this budget allocation and everything. Do you think we are on the right path?
We are beginning to take baby steps.
Okay.
Baby steps.
Okay.
Better than not taking any steps at all. We are beginning to take baby steps, and we are beginning to see elements of governance. But I am expecting, and I can see your face, Tessie. I think we need to be doing hop, step, and jump at this time, because we've wasted so much time. COVID is here. We have not diversified our economy. We are growing at 3%. GDP growth rate is indicating that we might be going into negative territories.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about? Mr. President has finally agreed that Nigeria should get into the African Continental Agreement thing. Yeah, are we competitive? These are the times we need to now start to ask those questions. Are manufacturers going to be competitive? Yeah, okay, we've gone in there. Can we now get back and get a policy on manufacturing and production in Nigeria? Can we begin to now look at local content? Can we now begin to punish seriously deviants? And can we begin right from the office of Mr. President, all these political appointments, assistants and personal assistants, to trim them down and get back, like yesterday, to the Oran Science report that has prescribed that we should streamline agencies and departments of government, that Akabweze is now saying will not be able to pay just because we have used it as jobbers for the boys, for the political boys. This is now the time for us to now get serious. NSAS protesters, I'm talking on positive ones. We have stoked the fire. We must allow the fire to continue to burn. We must allow, and we must continue to do it legally under the rule of law. Make your point clear your points carefully, look at all the pros and cons, know there will always be hoodlums, know there will be fit columnists that want to infiltrate you, and always try and be a step ahead. Most importantly, get set for 2023. I know the issue of trust, and that is the reason why we don't want to have leaders. I can understand that, but we can't continue to be leaderless. We must learn to trust, and we must put machinery and mechanism in place,
institutions that will work,
to put down leaders that are not up to it. BB Niger, let us continue. Let's spend a lot of energies to now get into the fact that you must get into politics. It's not going to be handed to you like freebies. You must get into it. And you've shown us that you have the brains, you have the
and
capacity, you have the competence, you have the character, you have the compassion to be able to do it for Nigeria. Nigerian Ferrada say, yes, we can make it, and we are going to make it.
Mr. Fatoke, I need to do you the COVID greeting this morning, and I want my cameraman to be able to get that COVID greeting.
Well, I'm not seeing the palliative that you are giving to.
What is
The palliative has been looted.
Tessie, which palliative?
Palliative.
Did you put together palliative? All right, before we call it a wrap on the bumper breakfast this morning, my dear Tessie has a greeting to do.
All right, this is the exit of an icon with
passed on at the age of 86 just yesterday, and we wish him well. Balarabe Musa,
also
well.
Yeah.
That's it on the bumper breakfast for this morning. Thanks for staying with us, Mr. Fatoke. It was a pleasure having you here, and people need to see that our greeting again. That's the COVID-19 greeting, people.
All right,
don't forget, it's the COVID-19 greeting. Whatever happens, keep wearing your face mask. Make sure you wash your hands daily, and please sanitize if you can. Wash your hands, or you're far from soap and water. And when they say wash your hands, they don't mean with water, or don't rinse your hands. You do it with soap and water. You wash properly, and then you put your hand on your face. And don't forget, the inroad for COVID is actually here, your entire face. So when you protect here, you have protected your entire body. COVID is real. Don't be deceived by people who say it is not.
All right, and I am Teresa Adeyemi. To all the youth out there that watch this program today, or if you watch the program, tell a brother to tell a brother to tell a sister to tell a friend. Please, let's learn to be coming down. Like what Mr. Fatoke said, that there's always a silver lining. There's always a light at the end of the tunnel. No matter what you're passing through right now, learn to calm down. Take it in. Smile. Because smiling is medicinal. I think you knew that. It's good to smile a lot. When you smile a lot, you're going to look much more younger than your age. That's redundancy there. All right. I am Teresa Adeyemi. It's a bye-bye from my end.
Bye, people.